Here's Johnny.
I'll be back.
And you will know my name is the Lord.
And I'm walking here. I'm walking here.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Groovy.
But, I'm not actually putting up my Halloween decorations until Big Ass Pumpkin Day.
Big ass pumpkin.
For the rest of my life, that's when Halloween starts.
So,
I'll restart putting mine up.
October 1st seems like as good a time as any to me.
Yeah, but it feels like it's like Thanksgiving is to Christmas. Like, the season can't start until you celebrate Big Ass Pumpkin Day.
The holiday you didn't know existed before this year.
I knew about it last year.
Oh god, you had insider information?
I feel
He's been trading Flexo bucks for years.
I feel like you mentioned it last Halloween.
I probably mention it all the time.
Why is that? Why did that sound so hostile?
You, sir. You'd get your suitcase and leave.
I slam down my wizard staff and disappear.
Speaking of Big Ass Pumpkin Day.
Big Ass Pumpkin Day is why we're here today, dear listener. Executive producer Flexo is just going to be in all the podcasts now.
You know, the sound of, phone calls and business deals being made in the background.
I'll get some fax machines to just run them constantly so we can make it sound like I'm doing real work.
Producer Flexo.
Oh, yes, Trump.
Oh, thank you. If you can continue that for a minute. Business.
That's why I had to kill Bob Morton, everybody.
But we've brought you here, audience, if you're actually here, to learn about a fantastic, semi-new holiday called Big Ass Pumpkin Day. Big ass Pumpkin Day.
Big ass Pumpkin Day.
Louder!
It's a big ass pumpkin day.
Everybody!
Big ass.
I really wanted to start the episode with all of us saying that, but this is...
That's what I was gonna suggest us do. Like, we do it like row your boat.
Like a round? I like it. We can do it now. We'll still include it. Big ass pumpkin day. Big ass pumpkin day. Big ass pumpkin day. It's a big ass pumpkin day. Everybody! Big ass pumpkin day. Big ass pumpkin day. Big ass pumpkin day. It's a big ass pumpkin day. Everybody! Big ass pumpkin day. Big ass pumpkin day. Big ass pumpkin day. It's a big ass pumpkin day. Everybody!
Little do the listeners know, this song is 2 hours long.
There's one verse and we repeat it.
Why did you keep changing the meter?
I like to throw people off.
Like, why'd you get all progressive rock on me?
I knew he was going to do that.
I was actually thinking about it. One of my roommates, back when we first made this holiday, used to play, still might, I haven't talked to him in years, play electric guitar. And we asked Miles, could you make us a Big Ass Pumpkin theme? And he thought for a minute. He held his guitar, and he thought. And then he just went for it. And we're sitting there in a circle, and all of a sudden we hear... And he goes into like a screamo version of what he thought Big Ass Pumpkin Day should be about, which was... Scoop out the guts, cut out the eyes, cut out the eyes. Pumpkin day, cut out the eyes. Pumpkin day, scoop out the guts. And he just rocked it for about 40 seconds, screaming things like slash out the eyes, stab out the guts. Pumpkin day, pumpkin day, pumpkin day. And it was beautiful.
That sounds incredible.
Then one time, we had many themes for this. One time we all stood in a circle around a small fire while chanting, kind of to the tune of O Fortuna, big ass pumpkin, big ass pumpkin, big ass pumpkin. And I don't know why we did it, but we did it.
Doesn't that say like everything you need to know about the holiday? We didn't know why, we just did it, and now it exists.
A very good explanation for it. And I guess to lay down the ground rules, Big Ass Pumpkin Day is a beautiful celebration before Halloween, where you get your pumpkin carving done. You find the biggest pumpkins you can find. I wouldn't suggest Walmart. They have a decent selection, but there are bigger ones out there if you know a local farm. And you get this pumpkin.
Also, there's a definite possibility that you'll find a real pumpkin as opposed to when you go to Walmart.
That's true.
Yeah,
Those are kind of false stories you guys are selling. That sounds pretty awesome, actually.
Cyborg pumpkins.
Oh, I want that. But you get your big-ass pumpkin, you carve the big-ass pumpkin, you have a lot of candy, you maybe drink a couple drinks, a lot of drinks, put the drink in a pumpkin, drink it out of the pumpkin, I don't care.
Suddenly this holiday makes more sense.
Most of the time I celebrated, I was in the college dorm, so no one got that drunk. And then we were at Derp House, and then it was just assumed you were drunk. But you also sing the Big Ass Pumpkin Day song, you watch a horror movie. I recommend Scream 1, 2, and 3 treated as one giant trilogy, and then Scream 4, because that's out now too. And you have a delightful time. I like to also get tiny plastic pumpkins and fill them with candy corn, because someone's got to get rid of that stuff, otherwise it just sits around. And I deposit them at different people's houses. Also, it's kind of fun if you get fortune cookie fortunes and you sneak them into the pumpkins. Or you can write your own.
Wait. How do you get a hold of fortune cookie fortunes?
You just...
You know a guy?
No, you just buy the fortune cookies and then you eat the cookies and leave the sheets.
That seems like an awful lot of work.
I really like fortune cookies.
They are pretty dope.
They're pretty tasty.
I didn't know the fortune cookies you bought at the supermarket actually had fortunes in them. I'm gonna
They
start
do?
those up.
Yeah. They might even be less shitty than the ones you get in stores, like restaurants. One time I got a fortune that just said, it's fun to be a kid. I'm not even sure how that qualifies as a fortune.
It's fun to be... Wait, it's fun to be a kid in bed?
Yeah.
That's disturbing. It doesn't work for everything. That's what I've been arguing for years.
We have the proof. Now, there's been some contention recently about Big Ass Pumpkin Day.
On the blogosphere.
And I would like to get some opinions on this matter. Now, the first Big Ass Pumpkin Day we declared was going to be on a Friday. And it was Friday the 14th. And we had a great celebration. Then the next year, it was, I'm assuming, Saturday the 14th, and it was still a great celebration. Then Sunday, which was a little awkward, but alright. It is currently going to be celebrated this coming Tuesday, October 14th. And who has a party on a Tuesday?
I just like how Cody's describing how the years work.
Just in case, you don't understand, the Earth rotating around the sun and all that kind of stuff.
This may be blasphemous, but perhaps just changing it to the first or second Friday of every October?
This is what has been suggested. So I
disagree with James. My opinion is that you have to keep it traditional. You have to keep it every 14th. No matter what the cost, no matter if you have to hold a party on Thursday.
See, this is the Christmas versus Thanksgiving kind of fight here. Like Christmas, it's one specific date. Whatever, it might be on a Tuesday, that sucks, but you deal with it. I don't know if I like that. I think I like it always being an opportune moment for a party. A Tuesday, I have to drive to Eau Claire from Wausau, and that's like an hour and a half after work. If I get drunk, I will probably die on the way home. That's no fun.
You did leave out the part where we have to consult the Big Ass Pumpkin.
The Big Ass Pumpkin. He hasn't been seen for many a year.
Like the Jersey Devil.
But cooler, and he's got more songs.
Well, since you bring it up, you mind telling our esteemed listeners the origins of Big Ass Pumpkin Day?
If such origins exist. I mean, it wasn't just you guys just saying, oh, we should do this.
I think it was pretty much that.
You gave us an origin story.
I don't remember it.
No, you don't.
It was your story.
This was literally 3 fucking weeks ago, man.
I have no recollection of this story.
You just incorrectly muttered "big ass pumpkin" for no reason, and it's a holiday.
Okay,
now.
I will tell the story Cody told me about the holiday.
Second-hand account.
It is the greatest big ass pumpkin day ever.
I think I might have demolished that section of my memory palace after I told it to you guys. I shared the room, and now I don't need the blueprints anymore.
You just burned it to the ground, salted the earth.
We're John Robin Blakes now.
Okay. A couple of years back when Cody was still in college.
Flashback.
He was watching the movie Friday the 13th.
Oh, that origin story. Okay, yes. No, that's where the song came from. That's where the song...
No, okay. He was watching Friday the 13th, the remake, with some friends. And at a certain point of the movie, we've all seen it, a character walks in with a big-ass bag of weed. This then led to one of Cody's friends going, big ass bag of weed, big ass bag of weed, big ass bag of weed, it's a big ass bag of weed. Months later, I assume, at some point.
Or 3 weeks later.
It was later in the day. Flexo was carving a pumpkin, and apropos of nothing began saying, big ass pumpkin day, big ass pumpkin day, big ass pumpkin day, is a big ass pumpkin day.
Everybody!
The entire room began singing this, and the next logical step was to get little plastic pumpkins, fill them with candy and the aforementioned cookie fortunes, then go around his dorm, putting it on everyone's doorstep while chanting, big ass pumpkin day, big ass pumpkin day, big ass pumpkin day is a big ass pumpkin day. And thus, a legend was born.
Wait, it's all coming back to me. So one day, I was at the dorms.
I'm going to restart from the beginning.
Just retell James' story exactly the way he told it.
No, you got it all wrong. It was a Tuesday.
No, you got the facts mostly correct. The timeline was a little extended.
It was all in 10 minutes.
More or less, what I was doing was I had enough horror movies where I could watch... One of my traditions, listener, is during the month of October, I watch a horror film every day of the month. Well, back in college, I had more free time and a lot of horror movies, so I would do it all of September and October. So at some point in September, late September, I was watching the Friday the 13th remake. And in that film, there is a character who was hauling around a large bag of weed.
Fuck you, man.
So my roommate saw this, and for some reason, we'll never know why, started singing, big ass bag of weed, big ass bag of weed, big ass bag of weed, it's a big ass bag of weed. Everybody!
Right. I remember that.
Hey, James, I can't believe you got the story so wrong. I don't know what you were talking
Minor
about.
details. So then, we decided, wouldn't it be hilarious if... I'm not going to go anymore. We're done.
I was hoping you would do the entire story. So
Just exactly the same. Yeah. And then Mike steps in, I remember it like this.
It's like fucking Rashomon.
By the way,
It was Cody that killed that woman.
Not to go off the subject, but Cody, you mentioned that you watch a horror movie every day in the month of October.
That's
what
true.
was the movie that you watched today?
Today, I watched From Beyond.
Ah.
That's right, and if you follow me on Facebook, or you go to our Tumblr page, you'll see my hastily written note that said I watched it. It's somewhat educational.
It's just an Instagram photo of a sticky note that said, yep, watch this movie.
I got it down. Check. But this year's
Your
gonna
move,
be
Internet.
This year's gonna be interesting. I bought the Saw series. I'm gonna rewatch all of those, like in order. So just 1 week of Saw.
Wow.
Stick for the first three.
Well, that's pretty much what I did originally, but I'm going all the way this time.
He wants to go to the return of Elway.
So I'm doing that, and I bought the Exorcist pack, so now I can watch all the other Exorcist films besides the first one.
Exorcist 3 is a fucking treat.
I've never seen any of them but one, so I'm excited.
2 is bullshit. 3 is a completely different movie from The Exorcist, but it's really, really good.
2, I would recommend watching just for the what the hell was that of it.
You do get to hear people say Pazuzu dead seriously.
And also James Earl Jones makes an appearance as a tribesman.
And Exorcist 3 has George C. Scott and Brad Dourif sharing a scene together.
Ooh.
For like 30 minutes. It's amazing.
It's also legitimately creepy and terrifying.
If you listen back to my first appearance on Pulp Nightmare, the after credits scene is us terrifying MB with the horrible, scary nurse stabby reveal, which no matter how many times you see it, still scares the shit out of you every time.
Oh!
I pooped.
That's a pretty accurate description of watching that.
Every time.
But speaking of movies that you have been watching recently as far as your Halloween marathon goes, there was actually a movie you watched quite recently as a part of your preparation for this episode.
I'm even watching it again right now. I can only assume you're talking about Stan Winston's Pumpkinhead.
I am.
Pumpkinhead.
Cody, would you like to do a dramatic reading of the Pumpkinhead poem for us? I
actually had it pulled up. I had the same idea.
I knew it. I fucking knew it.
I knew one of you would think of that.
Keep away from Pumpkinhead, unless you're tired of living. His enemies are mostly dead. He's mean and unforgiving. Laugh at him, and you're undone. But in some dreadful fashion, vengeance he considers fun, and plans it with a passion. Time will not erase or blot a plot that he has brewing. It's when you think that he's forgot, he'll conjure your undoing. Bolted doors and windows barred, guard dogs prowling in the yard, won't protect you in your bed, nothing will. From Pumpkinhead.
It's a big ass pumpkin day.
Because Pumpkinhead Day. I felt that was a good episode.
Solid.
Yeah.
I learned a lot about Pumpkinhead.
Yeah.
So yeah, we all watched Pumpkinhead.
Yeah, we all had to sit through that, so we might as well talk about it.
We all had to sit through that. MB, what are your opinions on Pumpkinhead?
Yeah, you just watched it 20 minutes ago.
Okay, here's the thing. I was actually the guy, I'm pretty sure, who suggested we watch.
Wait, this is all coming back to me. Okay, so about 3 weeks ago... No, I'm not going to go there.
The reason being, I remember seeing this film when I was 11 at my cousin's house, and I have always carried with me vague images of the movie, just randomized. Like, I see, like, the monster, and I see Lance Henriksen looking angry.
Shirtless.
And I've always been fascinated by the film's existence.
I think everybody watched this when they were 11 on the Sci-Fi Channel.
Yes, that's my experience too. It would just be playing on TV and you catch like 8 minutes of random Lance Henriksen screaming.
Now, I watched it today and I have to say it doesn't hold up. It's not horrible, it's just I don't know why I watched it. Like, it kind of left me with this whole feeling of I saw that again, and I never have to see it for as long as I live.
It's funny watching it. I think I watched it just last night, and I had the exact same reaction I had to it whenever I was 11 watching it on the Sci-Fi Channel, which is, well, that was watchable. Pumpkinhead looked cool. It's one of those very uniquely 80s horror movies where it's just like, we have a monster design and a roll of film. Let's go.
Yeah, and I want to talk about specifically the monster design because it just occurred to me the minute I saw it. This is basically hillbilly voodoo xenomorph.
Yes, that's the best way to describe this thing.
It's just the xenomorph, but with flesh and kind of like a smile and a personality, weirdly.
I do like the fact the monster actually has a personality. It's not just a spooky thing that goes around eating people. It'll kind of fuck with you first. Like, it laughs at a certain point when it's destroying a church.
Yeah. I mean, you can't say the scene where he walks into a destroyed church, grabs a cross, and breaks it.
For 20 minutes.
Is not incredible. I still like how they give Pumpkinhead kind of like a human voice. Whenever he makes a sound, it's clearly a human doing the voice. It's a little more interesting.
It's weird because it's like throughout the whole film, well, after Pumpkinhead is summoned, which is like 40 minutes into the film, actually.
I know.
Whenever he's summoned, there's this whole subplot of Lance Henriksen going into convulsions every time that he commits a murder. So it's like they are one and the same, but at the same time, it's not. Like, it's kind of like this whole, he's possessed, but he's not technically because he's still cognizantly aware of it and he still wants to try and stop it.
He's kind of transforming into a new Pumpkinhead. Like, you can see the monster looks more like him, he looks more like the monster as the movie goes on.
I have to say, I am disappointed that the monster did not look like Lance Henriksen for the entire movie. That was incredible.
I've described Pumpkinhead as, it's not really a movie.
It's not.
It's special effects.
No, it's just a fable that was put on screen. It's like more of just a poem than anything else.
Yeah.
Well, they even push that
like
on
monster.
On the poster. They even push like a grim fairy tale. They don't refer to it as a horror film. It just happens to have a monster, and it's kind of a simple morality play.
Because there's not a lot of dialogue. It's very quiet for the most part. It's just a fable.
Yeah, the movie is basically saying, well, wouldn't it be cool if Pumpkinhead existed?
And then
here's the thing. I have to say, talking about the positives of the movie, I do think just as, a mythology that something else could have been built on, the whole Pumpkinhead thing is kind of interesting. Like, you could see, like, a cool Hellboy story being based around that. It doesn't really work just by itself as a 90-minute movie.
It's not even 90 minutes. It's like an hour 20, and there's like 5 minutes of opening credits.
I would really like to see Pumpkinhead remade.
That's one of those few movies I can actually see being remade into something decent. Although we do have 20 of these.
But yeah, I've seen 2, actually, way more than I've seen 1.
It's funny, for years I've always made the joke that the Pumpkinhead sequels are all Lance Henriksen as Pumpkinhead. I forgot that's actually how this movie ends.
In the sequels, don't they bring him back like as a mummy or something?
Yeah, well, 2 explains where Pumpkinhead comes from, kinda, and it's
space.
Stupid. No, it's like a retarded child or something. I don't even remember. It was weird.
Although I do like the idea of space. I think every horror franchise should have one space entry.
Well, don't we get every time Pumpkinhead walks in, we get the alien and monster sound? We get Independence Day and Aliens.
You get that hissing noise, like you even hear it in the Thing.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
That one guy probably still bringing in royalty checks.
It's nice that Pumpkinhead brings a strobe with him, too. I joke that actually is probably his personality. He would literally set up a strobe like Batman.
I just love how you...
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Really, like, that's not really so much a joke as that is, like, the setup personality for the monster is that he's just a dick.
Pretty much.
Like,
he's like a professional wrestler.
Like, that's his entire personality. He just loves killing people. Like,
his entrance music.
He grins every time he does it.
They had the demon thing come off pretty well. I also noticed, I never noticed until when I was watching it the other night, which is he has a pointed devil's tail.
He does.
It's super cartoony. I never noticed that.
Neither did I, actually.
That's funny you talk about his, personality and his sound effects. Because there is that scene where he enters the church where you just hear the Pumpkinhead sounds playing and the strobe light and the wind. The kid stands up and says, "Pumpkinhead's here." So you just expect to see glass breaking, and then Pumpkinhead charges out. Well, we should probably talk about what the actual fucking plot of this movie is.
So, okay, it's a very straightforward plot about basically
Lance Henriksen lives alone in a shack with a small boy
who may or may not be his son.
Yeah, he may have kidnapped him at some point early on.
He's shirtless a lot and has a flamethrower.
Yeah. That was the part that confused me the most, is why the flamethrower?
Looks cool.
What does he have to do on that farm that involves napalm?
It's funny because it's like he's established as a grocery store owner, like a small grocery store owner, so him having a flamethrower has nothing to do with anything.
And he's just burning stuff in the beginning.
Hey, you guys never owned a farm.
That's true. You got me there. Did you burn stuff randomly?
Yeah.
What'd you burn? The neighbors?
I'm not legally allowed to say anymore.
It was the neighbors.
I will say, as far as the pluses go in this movie, you can't go better than fading in on a dramatic establishing shot of a shirtless Lance Henriksen using a flamethrower in a desert backdrop.
I do love Farmer Lance Henriksen so much.
Just the fucking humanity edged into his face.
But the story revolves around an accidental killing of Lance Henriksen's son when them city folk come down.
In their motorbikes.
Yeah. And ride around.
With their big city boob jobs and flasks of whiskey.
Yeah, here's the thing about the movie is that it's so Hicksploitation, yet at the same time it's supposed to be like a straightforward, dead serious horror movie that it contrasts to the point where you don't know what you're watching at some point.
I just assume it was the Ozarks.
So that's all I could think about whenever I was watching that yesterday. It was just And you don't see this quite as much today, but that was a huge thing in the 80s and 90s, just the jackass Hollywood notion that, okay, you have LA and you have New York, and everything between that is just a wasteland where hill folk just roam around.
I do like the hill folk walking around wearing potato sacks, like actual potato sacks.
Yeah, it's weird. They set it up in the present day of the 1980s, but it looks like it's supposed to be like in the 1800s. Like, apart from the trucks, you wouldn't know what time period it's in. But anyway, going back to what the plot is, Lance Hendrickson's son is accidentally killed in the midst of a motocross race.
The most 80s death of all time.
And Lance Hendrickson swears revenge upon these teenagers and these city folk who kill his son so badly that he has to go out and consult a witch woman.
Cody, do an impression of the witch.
Ed Haley.
All right, I'm happy.
No, you didn't repeat things over and over again.
So,
touche.
So, and by the way, this is all established as something that had happened previously in his life, where as a boy he witnessed Pumpkinhead exacting vengeance on somebody. So he remembered that, goes to see one of his neighbors, and forces him to reveal the location of this witch woman, because he thinks that the witch woman can actually bring his son back to life.
Even though he's explicitly warned that no, she can't, and 2, he'll go to hell.
Yeah. So he goes anyway, and she tells him the exact same information. She is, that's beyond her depths, but she can bring back this entity that will exact vengeance for what he's been wronged for.
The Batman of monsters.
And to the pumpkin patch he goes.
Yes, he has to dig up this thing in a pumpkin patch and bring it back to her. And then she does all this stuff, like she cuts his hand and puts didn't she put the necklace on him, or am I confusing that with the end?
I think that's just an end.
Yeah, he's wearing the necklace at the end.
For a second there, I thought you were saying she puts necro flesh on him. He becomes
kind of. Kind of. I mean, he does kind of grow when he's awoken or born.
That birth scene is fantastic.
It is.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, yeah, there are some excellent special effects in this movie.
Yeah,
I just wish they weren't all hidden behind strobe lights.
Yeah, it's directed by Sam Winston, so all the special effects are fantastic. It's just
that's all.
It's just not a movie.
Back in the day when practical effects roamed the wild.
Even Winston's directing style is kind of weird, because you notice, I noticed immediately that basically every shot is a quick cut.
Also, this movie has my favorite 80s thing, which is instead of shooting at night, you just get blue daylight.
Yep.
Yeah, there's day for night.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty
much half the movie. Everything's got a very strong color filter over it. So, everything is either orange or blue.
There are scenes with the monster itself that are day for night, and that is when the monster does not look as impressive.
I have to say, MB's underselling it. 2/3 of this movie is the search for Pumpkinhead. I think he comes into the third act.
Yeah, like 40 minutes in. I saw the actual timestamp because I was already ready for this movie to be over.
This is like a fucking mini-series.
Yeah,
the series.
It does actually, to the film's credit, try to make it seem poignant that the father and son have a deep relationship, and when it's killed, it tears them up. But the problem is that it's not so much that Lance Hendrickson doesn't act, it's just...
He has nothing to do.
Yeah.
Everything's very understated.
It's just, there's the scene where his kid dies, and he just kind of hugs him, and then,
he gives a power grimace to the kids.
Yeah, the grimace is kind of... the one thing I think Hendrickson was hired for this movie was his grimace, because he is scarier than the monster.
He has a Capaldi scowl.
He's been working on it.
It also doesn't help that kid has, the most peaceful death I've ever seen. He's hit by a bike, and then he just kind of falls over and is like, hey.
I think he dies of internal bleeding. Like, you don't actually see, like, a mangled arm or anything. He's just kind of like, I'm not going to wake up.
He doesn't cry or say anything. He seems like he's doing fine. I think he just fell asleep.
Pretty much. It's very peaceful.
All right, well, backtracking. We've got to describe the death sequence in this movie. Okay, so jackass teenagers arrive at the store. There's one dude who's an over-the-top 80s jackass.
Yeah.
Like, he's drinking and driving. He has his hot Hollywood girlfriend. He's disrespectful to the rubes.
And it's weird because it's like he's the only one that doesn't seem like a decent person.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, this is a terrible accident.
Yeah, the rest of them are fine. He's the only one that's, like, got an edge to him.
It just really makes you wonder, who invited that guy?
Well, he's the brother of the other character.
But still, I have 20 douchebag brothers I don't invite to my BMX bike trips.
Maybe you should.
Go on
really
BMX
liven
bike.
things up.
But yeah, they go back to your...
But as soon as he's rude to the rubes, like, there's this weird standoff between the two brothers. By the way, the other brother, who wears a bandana on his head
It was the
for the entire movie because it's the 80s, is not only in a completely different movie, I'm pretty sure he's plucked from Troll 2.
Oh my god.
It just has that look on his face the entire movie. What's going on?
Another big thing I noticed with those scenes was it sounds like those two are dubbed.
Awesome.
And I don't think that's
turning me on.
I don't think that's actually the case, but it sounds like it's like it just seems like because there's a lot of far away shots of them in like this dirt road when they're setting up their BMX bikes and stuff. It sounds like they ADR'd it, but it's still their voices, so it's just really bad ADR. So it has this weird effect of being them but not being them at the same time.
To be fair, that is the 80s, the time period where people gave so little of a shit that if they didn't like your performance, they just dub you over like an anime character.
Flash Gordon.
But, so they have some kind of weird debate over whether or not to go to bring out their motorcycles and do 80s riding in front of the store. And asshole brother demands that they go riding now because 80s. So they hop onto their bikes.
Yeah, there really is no reason for them to actually ride in the middle of, like, there's no reason for them to stop here and start riding. It's just, we have to.
He really wanted to impress 80s Jason Lipnicki. So they hop onto their bikes. He hits the kid.
The first kid totally misses, though. There's a close call, and then the kid doesn't get out of the way.
Yeah, the kid just stares like he's... Like, the kid is played as though he's from Mars and has no idea what these Earthman vehicles are. Because he just runs out in front of them, and the girl's like, would you get out of the way? He's like, what?
He's chasing his dog, to be fair. He is chasing his dog who got
He chases
loose.
the dog, and then he just remains motionless as the bikes go directly towards him.
Yeah. That's when he kind of loses all touch with reality, and he's just like, he just watches the other bike go, and that's when he gets hit by the second one.
It's like Frogger. He can only avoid so much.
Which is so weird because it's like less than 2 minutes earlier, his father had left him in charge of the store, which doesn't really seem like a good idea because all he has to do is go to his house to get like feed for somebody.
Contrary reasons.
So he leaves for like maybe 5 minutes, and his kid manages to be murdered accidentally.
And as soon as they hit him, like, nobody checks to see if he's okay. They just kind of stand around the body. They're like, well, he's fucking dead.
Well, they were talking to him like he was alive.
Yeah.
Actually,
they were very surprised at the end of the movie when they found out the kid died.
Yeah, it's actually the reverse, is that they just assume he's all right. He's going to be okay.
When they look for a phone. There's no phone there.
Well, that one guy doesn't.
Defending the 80s characters, Mike.
Douchebag brother doesn't want anyone to call the police because he's done this before.
Yeah, he has a record.
I think they even say like he ran over a woman at some point
While drinking, yeah. So he's like on probation.
Yeah, he's on probation, and he doesn't want to go to jail, so he immediately goes crazy and locks 2 of them in a closet.
Yeah, he goes full Quint. He pulls the phone cord out of the wall, like, no one's calling the police.
He takes, like, a log and hits one of the other guys in the back of the head with it. By the way, I just want to bring this up as a weird trivia fact I found out reading the Wikipedia page. The guy who was the last male character to survive, like the guy who was with the original group and got hit with the log and everything, that was the guy who played young Clark Kent in the original Superman.
Yeah, it all comes back to Superman.
But, yeah, the crazy 80s biker guy, just decides to, like, box this in and not call for any help or anything, and it's I guess
it's going to turn into a wacko situation. Like, he has guns there. He's not going down alive.
Yeah, and it's weird because, like, it's completely pointless because the kid is left in the field behind the store with one of the other kids attending to him when his father comes and gets him.
Yeah, Troll 2 guy with his bandana. And he just... And this is the point where the movie just breaks. Because Henderson gets out of the car and sees 80s dude sitting next to his kid and just very, very slowly walks over towards them. Meanwhile, 80s guy just stares at him. And all he does is kind of do a half-hearted, hey, wave. Like,
I found this dead kid in your yard.
Henderson walks over to him, looks down. The kid does not say anything. The guy just looks at him, then stands up, and just kind of looks at the kid, looks at Henriksen, continues to say nothing. Henriksen picks the kid up, and then walks away. Then Henriksen turns back around and gives him the Henriksen stare, and then leaves, without a single line of dialogue passing between them.
I think the kid actually does say, like, it was an accident at one point, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Like, that, it would be a good scene in a better movie.
Out of curiosity, what's proper etiquette on murdering children? Like, how long do you have to sit around the body? Like, if the parent's not back in, like, a half hour, can you just go?
Well, if you go by Children of the Corn logic, you can just stuff the body in the back of the car and keep it there.
Just keep driving around with it.
Yeah.
I mean, I get that you're awkward around strangers, but when you're with somebody's dead kid, at least acknowledge it.
Oops, oh, you fucking white hat motherfucker, king of the world, goddamn hero.
You don't just be like, oh, well, I'm gonna go now.
Hey, I'd like to see you kill a kid. It ain't so goddamn easy, I'll tell you that.
Now I'm just thinking of Trick or Treat with that one kid in the hole.
They just scream for hours. It's tough.
But, yeah, it's
this takes about 40 minutes of the movie to get to this point. Like, the movie is halfway done before they're like, oh, shit, we need to introduce the monster. Because the monster's in the first scene in a flashback.
Yeah.
And they're like, fuck, okay, now we gotta get back to throw a witch in here, make a monster, start killing kids.
In a very bizarrely edited first scene, by the way, because it's like, it's that thing we were talking about earlier where it's half of it is in day for night, the other half of it is legitimately night scenes, and like they show flashes of the monster and they show a silhouette, but at the same time it's all quick cuts, so it's like you don't know what's going on half the time. Like at one point the guy who's being attacked rises in the air by the waist, and it doesn't make any sense. So you have that first scene, then 40 minutes of filler, essentially.
The quest for Pumpkinhead.
No, you have like this relationship in the meantime of Lance Henriksen and his Coke bottle wearing kid that is so lovey-dovey it could only result in one of them dying. Like this is, if you ever see someone that is that kind and caring to another person, that person is doomed.
I know, it's like The Road in 20 minutes.
Yeah, the kid even made him a necklace. That was pretty much like spelling out his fate.
They shared story time. He made a necklace for his dad. He talked about his grandma's hands. Like, this kid was dead from the start.
Question. When you saw the necklace, was your first thought, Vault Boy?
No.
No, sorry. No, you're on your own.
It was blue, and it had the fucking insignia around the collar. That's all I could think.
It was blue?
Yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't.
Yeah. Way to make fun of Cody's disability.
I'll try not to reference colors from now on.
Thank you. I feel like we could make a joke out of that. Like every time someone points out a color, I just go, I'm sorry. You'll have to say that a little louder. I'm deaf.
Let's bring up the running gag we want on the podcast in the podcast.
That's my favorite. I want everyone to know exactly how the show works.
Just so, everyone knows it's fake every time that happens.
I'm not even standing in a real computer room. These are just cardboard props.
Well, none of us are real, so...
That is true.
Yeah, we're all just a part of your Truman Show, like.
Well, the thing is, you're real, but you're just paid help to entertain me.
Yeah.
Are you in Mother right now?
There's a lot of blinking lights. Some of them I've made.
So they were strobe lights.
Pumpkinhead's after me. I shouldn't have interfered, Pa.
What do you think it's like to hang out with Pumpkinhead, like on his days off in hell?
I imagine he just finds churches and desecrates them and laughs, like, all the time. It's funny at first, and then you're like, all right, this is the third church you peed on today, Pumpkinhead.
Well, Pumpkinhead is like the drunken hillbilly of the demon world.
Yeah.
It's like, Pinhead gets the call at 12 o'clock at night. Oh, God, Martha, I've got to bail Pumpkinhead out again. It's the fourth time this month.
Michael Myers shows up at his door. When I
bring him home, I'm going to have such sights to show him.
Michael Myers shows up at the door, just mimes. Oh God, it's we have to do this again.
They have to sit him down for an intervention.
The entire time, Michael is doing sign language.
There's a strobe light in a wind machine. Would you cut that out? This is serious.
They all have the honesty pillow. Pinhead's den.
Freddy's just clutching it.
Den.
I don't even know why I'm here.
Freddy thinks this is all bullshit and Pumpkinhead should be allowed to do whatever hell he wants to do.
He's the enabler. Meanwhile, Ghostface is just running around in the background.
He's playing with a foosball table. Now is not the time to take part in my rumpus room activities.
I wish more people call them rumpus rooms. It's a great time. That should come back.
Pinhead has a Ned Flanders vest on.
I like how quickly you assign Pinhead with the fatherly role.
Really? You think it'd be Freddy Krueger?
Well,
We're all his children now.
No, Freddy Krueger's like the asshole uncle that's been getting away with shit for far too long.
Yeah, he's like Hades to Pinhead Zeus.
So Freddy is the kid-touching uncle.
Yeah.
That is probably not a great connection, but...
Well, actually, that's fitting.
Yeah. Welcome to Box Office Pulp. Everybody, stay spooky. We all just abandoned the podcast.
But anyway, back to the movie.
Back to the movie. Yes.
What's your thoughts on Pumpkinhead? You haven't said anything.
My thoughts on Pumpkinhead? Yeah. They were much more positive until I started talking to you guys. Jeez. No, actually, I kind of had the same feeling. I saw Pumpkinhead, just snippets of it on TV as a kid, so I never got the entire experience. Apparently, I just saw the good half. So, going back to watch it now, it's weird. You can't really go into it with the expectation of getting a horror film, even though it's about a giant demon that slaughters children. It's basically a very simple morality tale with kind of a fairy tale aesthetic to it, and a southern twang.
Yeah, the southern twang is what kind of throws it off, I think, because, it'd be one thing to just have it be this story, but it's so aggressively southern. It's
very, even the score is, just guitar twangs. It's nothing scary, it's just, harmonicas and guitars. Which, on one hand, I do appreciate when, horror scores actually have that kind of personality to them. It's not just, a bunch of loud violinists falling downstairs. It's an actual, kind of quirky theme. So that's cool. But again, it just doesn't really service the spooky aspect of the film at all.
Yeah.
So, that's not that great. The monster effects are cool, but kind of hard to see because there's a lot of strobe lights going on and some weird day for night stuff. Or night for day.
I think you should pull a lot more than most movies show.
That's true. You do get a couple of money shots. You have a very good idea what the creature's like by the end.
Here's a question. Whenever you saw Pumpkinhead as a kid, were you, like me, disappointed that his head looked nothing like a pumpkin?
Yeah, I was always confused by that.
Yeah, I was very
confused. That is the laziest monster name ever. We call him Pumpkinhead. Why?
Because
he's buried in a pumpkin patch. I don't follow you.
Do you think Pumpkinhead's insulted by that name? Because he probably has a demon name that, can't be pronounced with a human tongue, but it's still probably pretty bitchin'.
He's Pazuzu. It's like, is his head round like a pumpkin? No. It's actually more of an eggplant shape.
And again, it's just the xenomorph. Like, right down to the spine of it. The head jutting out in the back. The goat-like legs type thing.
Yeah.
The claws.
It's kind of... I don't know, I always thought it was weird, though, that there weren't, like, a bunch of Pumpkinhead masks for Halloween. Because they're still selling, like, pinhead masks at Halloween shops. Like, all the different horror icons from the 80s and 90s got tons of crappy Halloween merchandise. Not Pumpkinhead so much. Very under-recognized.
Yeah, that's the thing. He's not really a horror icon. He's just kind of an offshoot.
Yeah, he has more movies than a lot of horror characters.
He's like a horror icon just for niche horror fans. He never really reached outside of that, unfortunately.
Yeah,
the sequels also fucked up his personality pretty hardcore. So.
Plus, 3 and 4 were TV movies.
Yeah.
So it's like he doesn't really have the high-profile glam of like a Freddy or a Jason or a Michael. He just kind of
they also took away his demon origins and all that. So.
Yeah. So he's just kind of he's the Kmart monster type thing almost, but. I don't know. It's like they tried to do something with him in the first film, but
they didn't have money.
They didn't have money. They didn't have much to work with in general, apart from like vague. He's a demon type thing.
They had that poem, and that was about it.
Yeah, it's like Pumpkinhead works better if you just explain the story as a tale instead of actually showing it.
Yeah,
like if you just explain the plot, it works a lot better. Like this happened, and this happened.
Like filming it is actually kind of a disservice to the actual story because it gets rid of the idea you have in your head of what it could be and shows you what it actually is, and it's not as impressive.
I really like to see a remake just because I think they had some really interesting ideas with the morality play and
just the basic mythology of it is interesting.
And having the kids responsible for the his son's death not to be asshole except that one guy.
Yeah.
But even then, they had the one guy right before Pumpkinhead shows up decide to turn himself in.
I love that character had an arc.
And he's the first to die.
Like it's different than most horror movie, asshole city characters.
Yeah, it's weird because in a way they actually kind of do acknowledge something that a lot of other horror movie characters don't have, which is that he has a purpose to kill beyond he's just insane or he's just a monster. It's like he's actually something that is conjured up for vengeance.
Yeah.
Like that is actually kind of an interesting idea because it gives him a little more depth than you would actually give like a Jason or a Freddy or something like that.
He's the hillbilly Ghost Rider.
But they don't give it anything. That's the thing. It's like they set it up, they don't give it any payoff.
No.
It's just, well, we said this, now we're just going to have a bunch of killing scenes, and Lance Hendrickson turns...
Lance Hendrickson destroys Pumpkinhead by accidentally falling into a pitchfork. Like, horribly. Like, at first you think he just poked himself, but then it went inside of him. He's dying now. Running out dramatically with a flamethrower.
Not to mention the first scene where they show their link, which is a random dog attacks Lance Henderson, and it pains Pumpkinhead.
Gypsy doesn't like him anymore.
Which is cool, because for a second there, like, oh, Pumpkinhead has powers, he's going to turn the forest against them. And no, it's just that one dog.
But it's just a weird, hard to describe movie, to be honest.
Look, what we're saying is somebody needs to get on with Pumpkinhead in the Hood.
I'm telling you, Pumpkinhead in space.
I can actually see Pumpkinhead working like as a predator too. Like he's in the urban jungle now.
He battles Danny Glover.
Yes.
Okay, here's my pitch. It's like Armageddon. They're trying to blow up an asteroid. Turns out,
goddamn space.
There's a space Pumpkinhead on the asteroid.
There's not a space Pumpkinhead.
But think,
Space
that's the last
Pumpkinhead.
thing they'd ever expect.
Exactly. So they bring back Pumpkinhead. I don't know, maybe someone's being a douchebag on space or trying to sabotage the mission.
Maybe there's a pumpkin patch on Pluto.
Yeah, something, But the space station trying to swoop in and save the day, filled with Southerners so you can carry that Southern twang into space.
It's made of cardboard.
It runs on shine.
And they have to combine forces to take down the Pumpkinhead in space.
It'll be the first real American on the moon.
I'd watch that. Would you watch that?
I live that.
Cool.
I have to battle Pumpkinhead every day on the way to work. I pissed off a lot of people in my life.
Occasionally you fall into space.
Fall into space. That'd be the worst. I woke up today and fell into space again, honey. Oh, what happened?
To be fair, if you fall off your bed, aren't you technically falling in space?
Technically, you're always falling in space.
Yeah, exactly.
The only thing that separates us from space is dirt.
So really, if you think about it, Pumpkinhead is already Space Pumpkinhead. We're just dropped into space.
Look,
Stop
aren't
trying
we all?
to justify it.
Aren't we all Space Pumpkinhead?
Well, if you're like Lance Hendrickson, yes. Hendrickson, yes. I just imagine this though, guys. We could have Space Pumpkinhead, Space Witches, Space Harmonicas,
Space Hendrickson.
Space Dirt Bikes.
Douches in space.
Space. I just miss the horror film set in space for no reason.
I mean, it hasn't been that long since Jason X.
Hey, nobody actually saw Apollo 18. It could have had Pumpkinhead in it.
That's true. I kept thinking I should check that out, and then thinking, no.
It's that. Okay, stop. Let's stop talking about Pumpkinhead for a moment.
That's fine. We can probably stop. Does anyone have anything else interesting to say about Pumpkinhead?
It was a movie.
It was a movie.
You make it.
Apollo 18. Let's talk about that.
Okay, so that movie has such a cool concept.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, because, especially for a found footage movie, just because there's something holy about moon footage in the hearts and minds of Western civilization. The idea of perverting that into a monster movie is genius. Like, it's really fucking disturbing to see, grainy moon landing footage and then something horrible comes off the screen and kills an astronaut.
Kind of related to that. There was, I think, a BBC special where they took World War I footage and mixed it with, like, War of the Worlds type giant tripod aliens, and they made a fake documentary about, like, a giant alien Martian, Earthican war.
That sounds amazing.
Right?
Episode of Smodcast, I'm pretty sure.
And just seeing the footage is like, oh, that's really awesome. Kind of disrespectful to all the people who, died in the war, but still, it looks amazing. There's like that herky-jerky quality to it that makes it more believable for some reason. So yeah, Apollo 18, the idea sounded pretty solid.
Guys, you're describing what needs to be the Pumpkinhead remake.
Yes.
Found footage of them going on their BMX tour.
Yeah, could you imagine a found footage Pumpkinhead movie? It's like there's a POV shot of you in the swamp for 20 minutes trying to find that pumpkin patch.
So the strobe light would be on the camera. The camera breaks and that's why it's strobing.
It's the POV of Lance Hendrickson.
I was thinking POV of Pumpkinhead. This time you are the pumpkin.
When was the last Pumpkinhead movie?
It came out fairly recently. It's like a couple of years back.
Pumpkinhead 19.
He actually did go to the hood.
Blood Feud.
Wait.
Blood Feud.
2007. Wow.
Huh? Also,
Still
Jason
more
X.
than you think.
Jason X came out in 2001, so it's been a while since we've had, space slasher.
So do you think Pumpkinhead in Blood Feud was CGI? Do you think it reached that point? Or do you have to wait for the remake for the crappy CGI Pumpkinhead?
Considering it's a Stan... I think just out of respect for Stan Winston, I almost feel like they would not do CGI till the remake.
You think out of respect for Sam Winston, they wouldn't make another Pumpkinhead?
But it was his baby. They had to murder it.
That is so strange to think that was the one movie Stan Winston decided to direct. That was the story that was burning inside of him. That was his Don John.
He actually did direct another movie. It was something to do with a gnome, in the early 90s. I have no idea what it is. It wasn't a horror movie.
I don't remember the title, but yes, it had to do with a gnome.
So I'm going through the special features.
The Last Unicorn.
I'm going through. Oh, hey, I'm gonna segue. Last Unicorn. This is a question I had when I was watching it recently.
All right.
So, just stick with me. The Last Unicorn is transformed into a human, so she is not killed by the bull. Correct. Everyone remembers this, right?
Sure, why not? Go on.
Okay. So she's transformed into a human and forgets that she was ever a unicorn, but in her heart she's still a unicorn. If someone were to murder and eat her, at what point would you consider it to be cannibalism?
The part where you murder and eat another human being.
Is she really human, though? Or is she just a unicorn in disguise?
I would say when she becomes a human, she's a human.
I mean, she has the physiology of a human being.
Yeah, it's
does,
like...
but not the mental... I guess she still thinks like a unicorn?
Well, when you think of cannibalism, you don't think of eating another person's mental capacity.
Yeah, if I go crazy and think that I'm a cat and then you eat me, it's still fucking cannibalism.
I guess that counts, but this is with magic, so I mean, she's just in the form of a human due to magic, so this is...
Do you even need to go to cannibalism? Couldn't you just go to sex at that point?
Well,
what's bestiality?
Because the cannibalism thing makes sense. I wouldn't want to have sex with a unicorn, but...
Maybe you wouldn't.
It's like Harry Potter. If you drink the blood of a unicorn, you get powers, right?
You're making it sound better.
So what I'm saying is, if she is in human form and you eat her, do you still get the magic powers, or are you just cannibal?
Also, technically, okay, if you're going by cannibalism, are you saying cannibalism is wrong in this instance?
Unless you're like the Donner Party, yes.
Okay. Then, by extension, is eating a unicorn wrong? Because it's, fucking unicorn.
Considering this is the last unicorn, I might feel kind of bad. But then again, if it's the last one, they're already a doomed race, so I'm just helping speed things up.
All right. Would
That's
you eat
the
a horse?
Keeping the Lord of Darkness at bay.
Exactly. Would you eat a horse?
Oh, yeah.
You monster.
Why?
I'd eat a human over a horse.
Why?
Because they're fucking majestic, that's why.
Yeah.
I've seen horses. They're not that majestic.
Well, neither are you.
Well, that's fine.
All right.
I'm not trying to say
yourself up, motherfucker.
I probably wouldn't taste all that great.
Let's celebrate this big-ass pumpkin day in style with cannibalizing Cody.
Cody's the big-ass pumpkin.
Surprising twist.
Can Pumpkinhead be like the god of Big Ass Pumpkin Day? Like you have to do a sacrifice to the demon known as Pumpkinhead
while doing the O Fortuna Pumpkinhead chant.
Yeah.
Big ass pumpkin.
Big ass pumpkin. Big ass pumpkin.
Big ass pumpkin.
I was gonna make a point until I got distracted by this whole cannibalism thing.
I thought that was your point.
No, that was a segue.
You brought it up.
Pumpkinhead Blood Feud is about the Hatfields and the McCoys.
No, that's not it.
And it features apparently Lance Henriksen as Ed Harley?
Yeah, like I said, I came back as a mummy.
He's time.
Oh wait, that's time traveling mumminess.
Oh my god.
That's a movie they need to make. Time Mummy.
Time Mummy. Hey.
To be fair, the next episode of Doctor Who is a mummy in space.
Oh, they beat us to it.
On a space train.
Dang.
And it's also Murder on the Orient Express.
Yeah,
Doctor Who's an amazing show, that's all I'm saying.
I really had a point to make before we started talking about all this unicorn eating. Now I'm just hungry. Yeah, no, it's...
Pumpkinhead,
Yeah,
It's a movie.
Yep, it's a film.
Oh, there was Pumpkinhead reboot news just this year.
Oh.
And the show on a positive note.
Oh, I actually remember what I was going to say. We'll probably just drop it later, though, because it's not all that interesting. In the special features for Pumpkinhead, I was watching them, and they were talking about Stan Winston gave the script to one of the other guys who worked with him. And he's like, this is the movie I'm going to direct. And the guy read the script, and he's like, this is the movie you want to direct? And then Winston became very upset, so he just started asking questions. The guy was like, well... it's just a horror film. And then Stan was like, you're not allowed to read any more scripts ever. So for some reason, he really believed in it, and no one else did.
And they were right.
Kinda, yeah. I mean, that's why George Lucas needs helpers. Sometimes an outside perspective is a useful thing, or otherwise you end up with Star Wars 1, 2, and 3.
Oh, God. This was Stan Winston's Howard the Duck.
Ooh.
On the other hand, Stan Winston was still right about the Wolfman needing practical transformation.
Well, of course.
So now I'm just imagining Howard the Duck featuring Pumpkinhead, and it's fucking amazing.
That should be the reboot.
Howard the Duck. Howard the Duck.
That's going to be the next phase of the Marvel films.
Like Howard the Duck summons Pumpkinhead to get revenge on George Lucas.
James Gunn directs it.
I'd watch that film.
All right, then. So you'll watch the film. We're all...
I'm starting to feel like picking Pumpkinhead was a terrible celebration film for Big Ass Pumpkin Day.
It was great. Nothing is more appropriate than talking about Pumpkinhead on Big Ass Pumpkin Day. We'll do this every single year until we kill ourselves.
Or we run out of Pumpkinhead movies.
Too.
Yep.
No, we're not
Also,
talking about
out on
Pumpkinhead.
Scream Factory.
No, look at that retard play with the fire truck. I'm trying to be as offensive as possible. Hope it's working.
Okay, I'm just trying to wrap up the episode before you say anything about my mother. Okay, I give him a
talking
chance.
about Pumpkinhead all this time.
Oh, snap.
Ooh, Pumpkinhead slam.
Boom, bitch.
Right in the pumpkin patch.
So, yeah. Pumpkinhead.
Not like this. Not like this.
Like this.
No, they're innocent.
This is wrong.
He's gonna kill them all.
So if you find yourself sitting at home on Tuesday the 14th of 2014, October, I guess you could watch Pumpkinhead, or pretty much anything else involving a pumpkin. The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown? I don't care. Either way, you should have a spooky, big-ass pumpkin day.
Big-ass
pumpkin day. Big-ass pumpkin day. Big-ass pumpkin day.
Stop changing up the speed.
It's a big-ass pumpkin day. Everybody!
And like that, he's gone.
Big-ass pumpkin day. Big-ass pumpkin day.
It's a big-ass pumpkin day. Everybody!
Why can't you sing your own song right?
I can, I'm just not used to having company.
I just usually like to sing it by myself in the tub.
When I'm alone.
While I drink.
Box Office Pulp likes to crack open 19 beers and sing the big-ass pumpkin day theme to the tune of 99 bottles of beer on the wall.
You know, I was just about to say, I'm so happy we didn't break into Box Office Pulp guy being really sad and depressed, and you just start.
Yeah,
Box Office Pulp just hopes to live to see next big-ass pumpkin day.
Box Office Pulp hopes he doesn't live to see big-ass pumpkin day again.
Box Office Pulp's favorite movie is Pumpkinhead. He doesn't know why you guys have to be such dicks.
Box Office Pulp is Pumpkinhead.
Box Office Pulp's child was murdered by a bunch of BMX teenagers.
Box Office Pulp. Box Office Pulp. Stay away from Box Office Pulp.
Box Office Pulp fought the McCoy family in a blood feud as Pumpkinhead.
Box Office Pulp went to space.
Box Office Pulp once briefly transformed into Lance Henriksen.
Box Office Pulp ate a unicorn.
Box Office Pulp didn't get any powers, now he's just in jail.
Fantasy jail.
Insane.
I like how that's just our closer.
I was gonna say, I'm just gonna put this after the credits. I mean, we all know it.
We didn't do IMDb threads for Pumpkinhead.
Oh, we could sneak that in there. Let's see if there's any good ones. I don't know if it's worth going through these IMDb pages. There's very underrated movie. This film is atrocious. Is this supposed to be scary? One of the worst movies I've ever seen. And, oh, Pumpkinhead in your language. This could be fun. What is the name of the monster in your language? In Polish, we call it,
Alright.
This was a mistake.
It's not even, it doesn't look that hard. I just, Dynaglowy.
Alright.
Which literally means pumpkin-headed. In Maltese, it would be called Ras Quadrada 295:RA.
That's Pumpkinhead's demon name.
Which would mean either bald head or forgetful.
Forgetful.
I like the idea of forgetful Pumpkinhead. What the fuck am I supposed to kill?
Ooh, why am I murdering these people?
What did you do? What did you do?
Who did you kill?
In Spanish,
Kane.
he's tattooing himself. In Spanish, it translates Cabeza de Calabaza, But the character's name was not in the title of the movie, at least not in Mexico, where it is titled Pacto de Sangre, Blood Pact.
I like the idea of his name being Calabaza.
That's fun to say, yeah.
I've had calabaza before. They're great with a little enchilada sauce.
Apparently, in Albania, it was Coca Kanguli.
Mike, write down Coca Kanguli. That needs to be an imp character.
It does.
If you want the spelling for that, I'll just...
Thank you. Copy and paste it over.
There you go.
So saying that is going to be my new ringtone.
Coca Kanguli. No, there's... it would be... Oh, we've got Dutch. Pump, poon, and foofed. Sorry, let me try that again. I put the F in the wrong spot. Pump, poon, hoofed.
I was hoping it was foofed. Just a whimsical thing in the word. Oh no, it is a pumpkin foofed.
Fuck the foofed. Not the pumpkin foofed. He's come for the grand vengeance.
They just look like Hansel and Gretel. They have the big rosy cheeks.
I want people to describe me that way when I come into a house. Oh no, he's come for the vengeance.
He's come for the vengeance. Oh no, he's come for the vengeance.
And they all just slowly trot away.
I walk into the house and I grab a Coca-Cola and I just dump it into the sink and walk out. Ed Harley paid a steep price.
Your face is becoming more and more like Lance Henriksen.
That would be the best curse. Wait, are we talking old Lance Henriksen or like the near dark Lance Henriksen?
Near dark.
Awesome. Although I really love Lance Henriksen on Hannibal. Oh darn!
Slapping his knee. Wonk wonk.
The idea of this ending where Lance Henriksen kills himself to defeat Cody, and we're just left standing there over, and then Cody bursts into flame.
Take him right back to hell.
We bury Lance Henriksen, and he has the Cody beard.
Yeah, he's holding on to that bottle of Jameson I stole from that house.
That's what would happen. They would unleash Pumpkinhead on you because you stole their Jameson.
It's the only way to get it back. Let's see. In Icelandic, it's Graskershaus.
Sorry, I'm still on. Oh no, he's coming.
Right? Wouldn't that be great if someone said that about you every time you walked into a house? Or like, let's say you try and call your friend and he won't answer the phone because he's looking at his other friend going, oh no, he's come for the vengeance. Ring, 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 ring. He's called for the vengeance.
That's totally from some weird American translation of Godzilla. Oh no, he has come for the vengeance.
A revenge song, Come for the Vengeance.
Yes.
It's their third album.